Hello. Let's chat. Type your name in when you come. I know who's here. Hello, there's 3 people. Can you type your names in? There's 3 people. Can you type your names in? There's 3 people. 4. Okay. So some people are having trouble signing up. I'm getting some emails from people having trouble signing up. This is our first time we do this, so I would probably expect that some issues. Maybe not in this day and age of technology. But if you can open the chat on the right side of your I don't know if you get, I'm sorry, Scott Levy is texting me. He's getting an invalid link. So I don't know, there's 4 of you here. So here's a question for you guys. Do you all have YouTube accounts to go on? Or did it require you to do something other than just click on the link? I don't know if you can type on the right side where it says top chat. On the right side of your screen, there's, and if you go to the bottom, it should say something in the bottom right of this stream, of the screen. And you guys can type your names there, and we can, you can ask questions, we can have a conversation. So that would help before I get started. So I gotta relate. So let's see. Let's just finish. That's probably a bit better. I don't know what to do with Scott. Scott is still getting an invalid link. Right. So since nobody's telling me their names, but it does look like we have some people on board. So what we're going to do with these calls really are about you, and what you want to get out of them is what we'll get out of them. I will take the first 4 weeks of the Gigi Method classroom and kind of pick on some things to talk about. I won't go through all of it, obviously, because you've already been through it, so I don't want it to sound redundant and repetitive. But I will kind of pick on one or two subjects from the first 4 weeks. So we've had about a month. We should have at least all have 4 weeks of lessons, and or maybe more depending on when you signed up. But so and again, I wish that you guys could tell me your names, so I know who's on, and also if you could tell me if you have been to a camp, or if you give me your name, I'll be able to tell if you've been to a camp. But the concept, of course, first concept that I want to cover today is staggering. All right, and let me turn the lights up here 1 second. Get a little more light in here. I'm coming back. Hopefully you can see a little bit better wherever you can. But I'm trying to, I want to work on this court. All right, so what we have here, I don't know if you can see these, but that says S for server, service partner, returner, returns partner. So we're going to talk a little bit about staggering as it relates to positioning, which, as you know, is the first step in the Gigi method. The 5 steps, of course, of the Gigi method are positioning, core coverage, serve strategies, return strategies, shot selection, and of course, it's all surrounded by competition because that's what it's all about. And finally, I'm getting some names. Claire Roth. Hi, Claire. Nice to see you in here. Yes, I see your name. So when we're talking about positioning, you know that I am a huge proponent of players coming to the net. And the reason for that is because, as you know, the majority of the points in doubles are going to be won by the team who's at the net, statistically speaking. And I'm actually commissioning a study to give some data for recreational tennis. Hi, Kiata, how are you? And the study is going to give us some information on recreational players. Who's here? Hoku Roski, hello. So I have a lot of data on pros, and I have data that tells us that, for example, from the Australian Open in 2015, of all the doubles points that were played from the second round to the finals, 60% of the points ended in an error, right? 60% of the points at the pro level when they're playing doubles are ending in an error. And this is, the Australian Open is probably I'd say mid-pace level surface, meaning it's really not that fast. It's not clay, which is the slowest, obviously, and it's not as fast as grass, which is the fastest. So you would find probably more unforced errors or more points ending in error on grass, and you would maybe find a little bit less points ending in error on clay because you have more time to get prepared to hit your shots. But what's really most interesting about that statistic is that of the 40% points that were winners, only 3% of the points were won by the person at the baseline. 3% of the points. So 3 out of every 100 points played in doubles were won by somebody standing in the baseline. All right, so that means that the other 37% of the points were won by the person somebody standing at the net. So what does that tell us? It tells us that statistically we're going to win the majority of the points when we're standing in the net. And what I started out saying was that I'm commissioning this report from Craig O'Shaughnessy from Brain Games, who does all the data analysis for the players on tour. And I'm hoping to collect some data from some recreational tennis, probably from the national campus, which has play side on all the courts. So that should be pretty exciting for you guys to actually see if the data that happens on tour applies to recreational tennis, and hopefully I can separate that by level, so I can get like from the 3-5s, 4-0s, and 4-5s, how the majority of the points are being won. So I'm a huge proponent of high percentage tennis and playing high percentage, not only the point, but also what formations are giving you the best opportunity to win the point. And that's why I like when 2 players get up to the net. When we are in this position, 2 up against 1 up, 1 back, the people that are 2 up statistically have the advantage. They're going to win the majority of the points. And as you know, I have a big proponent of having players come into the net, but I want you following the 2 rules for coming into the net. And those 2 rules are, the first one, I say you want to make sure you get to at least the service line for your first volley. So if you're hitting your pro shot from back here, you're going to have a really hard time running all the way there for your first volley, right? So you want to make sure that you move up into the court to hit your pro shot, and then you only have a couple steps to get into the net for your first volley. The other way that you can come into the net, and let's see, This one with no number, nothing on it, will be the ball. So if you hit a high, slow ball, high and slow, not quite a lot, but kind of high enough that it gives you plenty of time to get to the inside the service line for your first volley. Now so that's the first rule. One rule, two ways to get there, get to the service line. The second one is you want to keep your opponent in the singles court, and this is not talked about very often. You want your opponent, if this person hit the approach shot, you want your opponent hitting the ball somewhere in this area. You don't want your opponent hitting the ball out here. Why? Because you can see if you're standing here that you have now made court that you have to cover the net a lot bigger, because we have to cover all this here, and then we have to cover all this here. And that is a really big space to cover. Whereas if you put somebody here, the space that you have to cover is a lot smaller. So hopefully that's kind of obvious, or you can see that. So keep your opponent, again, in the singles court. Now, once you get to the net, that's when staggering is going to start to apply. And when we stagger, one person is always slightly in front of the other. And the person who's slightly in front is whoever's half the ball is in. So if the ball's over here, they would be slightly staggered forward, they would be slightly staggered back. If this person's in the baseline and we change the direction of the ball, then we will have to re-stagger. Now, the question I get really often is, how much do we stagger? What's this amount of the stagger? Like, should the stagger be like this? Or should the stagger be like this? Should I stagger up here, over here? And the reality is that it's a little bit level dependent, right? So the higher the level, the less the staggering is necessary. In fact, when I was playing, I rarely staggered physically. I was not physically staggered, meaning you couldn't see it, but I was mentally staggered. So I knew that if I was here, the ball was on this side, and my partner, if I'm this person, and again, the reason that I didn't stagger was because if I took a step back, pros can hit this shot. So I wouldn't be able to cover it. So if you watch the pros, they're really now standing really close to each other at the net. That's kind of how they stand. Like, I mean, really over exaggerated. But I knew that if I was the back person, my lob was the responsibility. So this person's responsibility is to get anything in the middle, to be aggressive towards the middle. And this person's responsibility was to get the lob. So level dependent, meaning, this is a pretty good position to hold for most people. If you're playing in the lower levels where a lob is coming, you may back up. You may be in this position. So, if you know that lob is coming, then there's no reason for one person to be closer to the net. And again, for very high level players, then the staggering is diminished. You don't have to stagger as much when there's two players at the court. So the other important thing about staggering is that it eliminates middle confusion. When we're all taught to follow the ball, right? So we're taught to move this way back and forth. If you ever play with, if you're doing a drill and a pro feeds the ball over here, what happens is these two players go this way, right? So it's probably how most people are taught to move. And the problem that I had with this, again, is when you move that way is who gets the middle. So who gets the middle ball when this person's hitting it, if you're moving side to side, is not really evident. So, that most common answer that I get when I ask this question is the forehand gets the middle. So the forehand, assuming they're both righties, this would be a forehand. But what if they're lefty and they're righty, then we have two backhand volleys in the middle? It doesn't work. What if there's a forehand, that's a backhand, but the ball's over here? They can't come all the way and get that ball. So really, the problem with moving side to side is that creates middle confusion. And a lot of times, both players go to the ball or no one goes to the ball. And I don't know which is worse, crashing into each other or no one going. I prefer crashing, frankly, but there's nothing worse than getting past to the middle. It's like somebody has to get the middle. So how we solve middle confusion is by staggering, because now, since this person is in front, and as long as there's been tennis, whoever's closest to the net gets the first right of the ball. So since they're in front, they get the ball, and they're back. And if when you're back, you can see that if your partner's going to get the ball or not. With your peripheral vision, you should be able to tell if they're going to get it or not. And if they can't get it, then you also go. So what's happening is that really both players are going, and hopefully one gets it, right? If they both go, hopefully both's not going through the middle. And then the other thing that it does is that it protects the hardest lob to hit, which is the cross, or it protects the the higher percentage lob to hit, which is a cross-court lob. There's 6 more feet. This ball travels 6 more feet, and there's 6 more feet to hit a cross-court lob than there is a down-the-line lob. But by that, what I mean, if you draw a straight line from here to here, and you draw a straight line from there to there, this one has 6 more feet. Therefore, it's higher percentage, right? There's more space to hit it into. So if you're protecting if you're properly staggered, then and a down the line lob goes over this person, this ball can be intercepted. So this person can come over, intercept that lob, we switch, and the point continues. And now that's a straight ball coming down the line. Let's go like that. So this ball is coming straight down the line, and there's an interception point here. Now, if we get what I call reverse stagger, where the person that's across from the hitter gets too close. So in this position with the ball on this side, we are reverse staggered. This is proper staggering because the ball's on this half. This is reverse staggering. So what's happened here, you can see all the space to hit into this wide open cross-court lob. And the problem with the cross-court lob, not only is high percentage because there's more space, but also to intercept this ball is harder because we have a cross-court ball. Cross-court ball is going away from this person. So this ball keeps running away from them. They may be able to intercept it, but it's not as easy to intercept as the down the line lob. So that's why staggering is so effective. And one of the reasons I think that staggering hasn't been taught so much is because it's not obvious to the viewer. If you're watching the pros play, it's not obvious that they're staggering. It's not obvious that they're following staggering concepts because, like I said, when I was playing, if the ball's on this half, if I just took a step back like that, I would get burned here. So I couldn't take a step back. I had to hold my ground. And also, the lobs really don't get over pros' heads that much because we're so agile. But I knew that if my partner got a lob here and they couldn't get it, that I had to go chase that lob. It's a lot easier to, even if it bounces, it's a lot easier for me to chase a ball running this way. So I would chase it, and if it gets over the head, hit it forehand, than it is for this person to chase a ball and have to hit it kind of behind them. So I think maybe for that reason, staggering hasn't really been taught, but it is now. And I just want to point out that Giada, who's joined us, just came out with a great book on doubles, and she is a proponent of staggering, of the staggered system. And we had a lively discussion about where it originated. And my assertion was that this is how pros have been covering the net forever. It's the only effective way to cover the net, or the best way to cover the net. So anyway, that's basically the concept of staggering in a nutshell. I don't know if you guys have any questions. I have some questions that I can pull up, but you guys tell me, is there anything you guys want to discuss, or any match situations that you had, or I can start asking you questions and have you guys answer them here. Like I said, I want this to be a little bit interactive. I don't want to just sit here and blab away. Pulling some stuff here. Let's see. Does anybody have any questions? Here's one. Can you discuss inside-out shots, anticipation of the shot? Yeah, sure. That's a great point. Okay, I'll probably cover that later in the year. But any questions that you want to ask while we're having them, I'm happy to discuss. Okay, so the question is, let's talk court coverage. So right now we were just covering positioning, right? So now that you've positioned properly, let's talk about what you cover. And what you cover is dependent on whether your opponent's hitting an inside shot, an outside shot, or an outside the alley shot. So if we break this box in half, roughly, this is going to be an inside shot, this is going to be an outside shot, and this is going to be an outside the alley shot. Meaning if your opponent's standing way out here, and depending on where your opponent's standing, then the coverage here is going to shift. It's going to switch rather. So if your opponent, so far what I've been talking about is outside shots. The majority of the shots that you're going to get in doubles are going to be outside shots. Why? Because if there's a person standing here, the only time that you would get an inside shot is if this person was covering the alley, right? So because if this person is, and again, with two balls coming from here, the majority of the balls are going to be going over here, right? If you hit one down the line, they may hit it over here, but I'd say 80% of the times when you're playing doubles, you're hitting outside shots. You're in this outside part of the court. But once in a while, you will get an inside shot. You get an inside shot if this person, again, didn't cover the middle or didn't poach or they're not active at the net, or if there's two people on the baseline. If two people are on the baseline, then you really want to be pounding that middle. So you're going to get a lot of inside shots. So if this person's hitting a forehand, what are their natural shots? What can this person hit? They can hit a cross-court forehand, which in this case is this way. That's across your body means cross-court. They can hit through the middle, which is down the line or through the middle, but they cannot hit this shot. And why not? Because for them to hit that shot, they're going to hit their partner in the back of the head, right? So and it's also, again, from the inside of the court to hit that off forehand, it's hard. Even if your partner's not there, it's still a hardest shot to make. Just watch this going over the high part of the net. So it has to clear the high part of the net versus if you hit it through the middle, that's the low part of the net. So so if the opponent's hitting an inside shot, then what do we cover? And that's where coverage shifts. So in this case, we're going to change what we cover. So on the regular outside shot, they get the middle, they get cross court, and we leave this. It's just like we're not covering that, right? But if they have an inside shot, then this person has to cover that, this person has to cover that, and then we're going to leave that one open. So there is a reverse coverage situation when your opponents are hitting inside shots. Now the third thing to discuss is outside the alley shots. If your opponent's hitting a ball outside the alley, whether it's a forehand over here or a backhand for righties, I'm still debating this one with myself because I know very few recreational players that can rip a backhand down the line and make it land here. It's a hard, very, very difficult shot, even backhand or forehand. I'm talking 3-5, 4-0, even some 4-5s. 5-0s can start to do that. They can do it well. And 4-5 pluses can also do it. But the majority of players are not able to pull the trigger and hit that shot. So, and then the other thing is, if you're trying to poach from a ball, let's say cross court, right? So let's say we're 1-up, 1-back, or even we're 1-up, 1-back, and this person's hitting a regular cross court shot, which goes right there. So if they're going to poach, they have to get to there to make that poach, right? Now, watch this. And I'm going to leave those there, but if this person's not hitting the ball from outside the alley, so they're way over here. Let's say they're about there, and they hit the same cross court shot. So look where that ball crossed the net. So all you have to do is take one little step towards the net, and now you have a poach. The problem is, again, we've been so conditioned to follow the ball that if somebody's way off here, what I find is players are standing way over here covering the alley. So again, if you can fight your instinct to move over and cover the alley on this outside shot, you'll get a lot of poachable opportunities. So hopefully that answered your question. But the other question that I get regarding what to cover and what not, and and whether you should come in or you shouldn't come in. And I just want to make something clear. Like, I'm a huge proponent of coming into the net, of course, because that's how I won 17 Grand Slams. And we know that statistically, that's how you're going to win the majority of the points. But if you don't like to come into the net, if you're one of those players that's like, you know what, Gigi, I'm not comfortable with the net, and once I get up there, I'm going to miss my volleys, and I'm just not I'm nervous, and I don't like it. I get that. I get it. And what's important for you then is that you find a partner that does like the net and likes to come in. And in this case, we have the classic setter and finisher team, where you have one person, who doesn't like to come to the net, being the setter and trying to help your partner finish the points. And then you find the finisher. You find somebody who's going to be comfortable up there finishing the points and being active at the net. And that'll work. It'll work a lot. But you're gonna have limitations, unfortunately, and you're not gonna use my match from yesterday as an example, that the one where I got dehydrated and cramped. But my partner did not come into the net. I've never played with her before. I did play a practice set with her, but people practice one way and play another. And she just wouldn't come in, and the other two girls were coming in, and we lost. And we lost because of that, because she had a great forehand and she kept pounding in from the baseline, but I couldn't help her because the ball's moving too fast, and she's hitting it too wide, and I'm not fast enough anymore. And the other girl would come in, and then we would lose the point. So there's plenty of examples of that. And I'm not blaming my partner, by the way, because I certainly had a lot to do with it, especially since I was unable to move the last 2 points of the match. But so let's see. Claire said, yeah. I'm reading some questions here. I'm a 4-5, and the person that stays back frequently hits a topspin lob. Are you 1-up-1? So Claire, can you tell me if you're 1-up-1 back in this situation? And I'll look at it again. And I just covered inside out shots for Lori. How do you handle defending against something over your partner's head? Do you stagger further back? Yeah. So I think I get the question now. So the question is, how do you handle defending against a topspin lob over your partner's head? Do you stagger further back? And the answer to that would be yes, but also anticipating. Like, so how do we anticipate? So if you are first of all, understanding the tendencies of your opponents. If you have somebody who likes to hit topspin lobs and is good at it, when are they going to hit a topspin lob? Most often than not, people hit topspin lobs when they're pushed back and they're on their back foot. So most often than not, they're going to be on their back foot, leaning back, and they're going to throw up a topspin lob. Some people can be stepping in and hit a topspin lob. Very good for them. That's hard to do over and over again. But if you have someone who does like to hit topspin lobs, make sure that you're properly staggered. All right. So what you want to give away the down the line lob. You don't want to give away the cross court, meaning you don't want to be up here and giving her all this space. So you want to be back there, and you want her. If you know, like I said, if you know the lob's coming, both of you start backing up. If you are 100% sure the lob's coming, you can definitely both start backing up. If she may drive it, and at 4-5 level, people can be fairly creative, right? So they can hit, drive, and lob maybe with a little bit of disguise. You might not know which it is. But then, yeah, one person can be further back. And then also what I want to say is sometimes people hit winners, right? Sometimes if somebody has a great topspin lob winner, that sometimes it's just not coverable. They are shots. Oh God, I can't tell you how many times people would hit topspin lobs over me. The thing with topspin lobs is that because they have topspins, they really drop. So there are shots, especially as you get better, that are just not gettable, that they're just going to hit a winner. So if you have another tip, if you have somebody that likes topspin lobs, is I would not give them deep balls. And that sounds maybe counterintuitive, but the deeper you are, the easier it is to hit a topspin lob, because you have all the space to hit it. Like from here, if your opponent's standing here, it's impossible to hit a topspin lob. There's not enough space there to get the lob open over you, right? But if you're back here, you have all that space to get the lob open over you. So maybe hit them short till they're not able to hit a topspin lob. Okay, Claire also asked, if they beat you at the net, what shots do you hit to put them on the defense you can come in? If they beat you at the net, what shots do you hit to put them on the defense so you come in? So I have, I discussed a little bit where to hit the ball that you want to keep your opponent in the singles court when they're coming in. So specifically, the deeper you hit it, like if somebody's hitting a ball from here, if your ball lands there when you come in, excuse me, drop my thing. If your ball lands here when you come in, I promise you they're not going to pass you. I promise you that. Like you're probably getting passed because you're hitting the ball short. You're probably hitting it here, and then they're just stepping in and ripping it. So watch the quality of your shot when you're coming in. Make sure that you're coming in of a deep ball that's it's got something on it. You can't come in. I call coming in on a prayer. Like you can't just run in on anything. You have to be smart about coming in. Follow those two rules. Make sure you get to the service line, and make sure that you keep your opponent in the singles court, so you're not having to hit a really difficult first volley. Let's see. Hokurowski. What's your name? Is it Hokurowski? Like, give me your first name. But anyway, I'm going to answer your question. If I play a 3-5 doubles match versus a 4-0 match, find myself staying back to cover the lob and playing less aggressive. Okay, so if you're a 3-5 playing a 4-0, and you probably have not gotten to the point where I talk about the 3-match situations that you face. So there's 3-match situations and only 3 that you're faced. You're better than your opponent, you're worse than your opponent, you're even with your opponent. Depending on which of these 3 you're facing, your risk-taking changes, all right? If you're better than your opponent, you don't want to take any chances. You want to play steady tennis, high percentage, just keep doing the same thing over and over again, like steady, and you keep telling yourself, I'm better, I'm going to win, I'm going to find a way. Even if they get a little hot streak and win a couple points or a couple games, you just keep telling yourself you're better and you're going to win. If you're worse than your opponent, then you got to just play full out. You got to be aggressive. If you're a 3-5 playing a 4-0, you got to play to win. You cannot play defensive, and you cannot play to try to draw the errors from them, because they're probably not going to give you many errors. You're going to have to take it to them. So to answer your question, I would not stay back I wouldn't stay back, because you're not going to out rally. You're probably not, as a 3-5, probably going to out rally a 4-0. So what you want to do is you want to put pressure on them and kind of force them to hit some shots to you that hopefully they feel the pressure of you coming in, and you can maybe get a couple points here and there. And then the suggestion on what shot to hit so the opponent doesn't continue to hit defensive lobs. I briefly talked about that. The deeper you hit the ball, the more likely your opponent is to hit a lob. If you don't want to play lobbers, if you get in this, some people, all they do is lob. And I know we have these players, they just keep lobbing. The only thing you can do is bring them in. So hit a short ball and bring them in. And it sounds not what you want to do in doubles, but whenever you're playing doubles, there's a strategy that beats every opponent. Everybody has a weakness. Even the tour pros have weaknesses. Our weaknesses are a little bit harder to discern. You might not see them, but they're very minute, but sometimes just that little, somebody has just a little bit better inside out forehand than backhand, and then you attack their weakness at the big points, because that's the one that's more likely to break down. So if you're playing against a team and they're beating you with the lobs, then don't come in. Don't give them that shot, or bring them in. You stay back and bring them in. Then they can't beat you with their strength. So then they have to find another thing to beat you with. And I know that sounds maybe counterintuitive, because we're also been taught to get to the net. You got to get to the net. You got to get to the net. That's what all our coaches have always told us. You got to get to the net. But what I've learned is that's, again, we're talking pro talk, right? Like with the pros, we got to get to the net. But what I've learned in the last 5 years of coaching recreational players is that doesn't always work. Doesn't always work for you to just come into the net, because agility is different. The lobs are so prevalent. And the overhits aren't as big of a weapon as they are. You can't put the lobs away, and it's not an easy shot to hit, and there's sun and there's wind, and the overhit's not an easy shot for most 3-5-4-0 players. So again, if you're ever playing in a match and there's a situation where your opponents are using a strength of theirs to beat you, then don't give it to them. Don't play that game. Start playing a different game. Do Australian or I formation, or have your partner stay back on the serve, and you bring them in. You hit a short ball and bring them in. All right, one more question. Let's see. Giata's coaching 3-0s. They play mainly one-up, one-back. The short angle cross court often miss hit, wins a lot of points. Should I be teaching them to hit this shot on purpose? Yeah, I love that shot. So this is a good question. This is chip and charge or come in. So we have 3-0s or 3-5s. Yeah, I don't know, 3-0s. Giata, you're very ambitious teaching this shot to 3-0s, but I think 3-5s can start to hit this shot. And again, this is good because it brings them in. So if you can hit the return short, actually they're serving. So yeah, so if this returner can hit the return short, then you're forcing this person to come in, and that's a really hard shot to hit. I find that a lot of players, they move well side to side, but they're not so good moving up and back. So yeah, for sure, teaching that shot. Short backswings on chip shots. We call those chip shots. It's kind of like a block shot. Not a lot of pace on it. The less pace that you can put on it, the better. It's almost like a drop shot return. Hi, Linda. Oh, your son liked you. Okay, that's cool. So Linda Sephora, clear off. If you don't get to that first, how do you fight to get in? Good question. So you're in the one-up-one back formation. The question is, if you don't get to that first, what can you do to get in? You have to take what the point gives you. Sometimes if you're in this situation, what you're trying to do is keep the ball low. You want to keep the ball low to these people. If you're able to keep it low, then they have to hit up. If the ball is below the level of the net, then they have to hit up. And sometimes to hit low, you have to take the pace off the ball. So rather than hitting the ball hard, you want to hit this ball low and short. And then remember that low ball is very likely going to give you a low ball back. So you can hit this low ball and then start running in. The other thing you could do is lob. You can lob them. Lob them, hopefully, if they lob, they go chase the lob. And then you can come in. And now we're 2 up against 2 back. I'd much rather have that. Or the last thing you can do if that's not working, you can bring your partner back. So if you bring your partner back, now we're 2 back versus 2 up. And I'll take this any day of the week instead of that. In fact, yesterday I started doing that. I started staying back because, I don't know, just wasn't winning points up there. Any more questions? Let's see. Did I get all these questions? Claire. Anybody have more questions? If you don't get to the first. Oh, why is this better? So she's asking, why is this better? So Claire asks, why is this better than that? And the reason for that is that this person has a lot of pressure. Remember I talked about statistically, this team is going to win the majority of the points. People are 2 up against 1-up-1 back. 2 up is the best position in tennis and doubles. I call this the holy grail. And then these are 1-up-1 back. I call this a highway to hell. It's very hard in doubles to win points when you get in this situation. 1-up-1 back versus 2 up. This person we call the dead duck. Anytime a ball is hit high here, they're going to get killed. So what happens with this person, a lot of times they feel a lot of pressure. They feel, anxious. They don't know what to hit. They don't have clear plans for those shots. And often they'll just throw up a lob. They'll throw up a lob, and if it's a weak lob, then their partner gets killed. By bringing this person back, you've now taken the target away. So now, in this case, if you hit a high ball, they're going to get killed. But also, if you hit a ball down the line, then you have this winner through the middle, right? So now, if this person is back, that winner through the middle is now eliminated. And anything high is not, if you hit any high balls, you can't kill the net person because now they've come back. So, and then the other thing is, when you're in this position, you feel less pressure because you're not responsible for your partner. You're not responsible to keep them safe or to keep them safe. So you can throw up a lob over this team, and if it's a good one, then you can come in together as a team. So so that's kind of what I prefer for recreational players, is to play in that play in the 2-back formation. If they're not winning points in the 1-up-1 back. Now again, if you're winning points in the 1-up-1 back, then by all means keep doing it. It could be that these players don't have great volleys, or this person's got a really good pounding ground strokes. So so again, just try to play what the point gives you. If you're not winning the points, if you're winning the points in this situation, keep doing it. But if you stop winning points in this situation, then either come in or have your partner go back. Let's see, Linda. If you play 2 back, should you come in evenly or staggered? Who is in front is staggered. If you play 2 back. So if you're playing 2 back, if they're 2 up, you don't need to stagger when you come in. If they're 2 up, you guys are going to try to run in as fast as you can. Staggering only applies when there's a person at the baseline, right? Because remember, we stagger to protect the lob. you're protecting the lob. So when all 4 people are at the net, you probably don't need to protect the lob. It's very hard to hit lob volleys, lowest percentage shot in tennis. Pros can hit them, but it's not, and again, the reason is this distance to cover is very small. So very hard to get a lob over this person. If you don't time it properly, you're going to get killed because they're going to hit an overhead at you. So the staggering, if we have a person here and you're coming in together as a team, then we would stagger because they're back. So you're staggering in, and this is also very important. And a lot of times when I do drills, and I think one of the first drills on the first 4 weeks of lessons is that I do this drill called double trouble, where this side, so we start all 4 players in the baseline, and the ball is fed, and then this starts to come in. And what's important when you're coming in is that your partner comes in front of you. So you always want to come in cross court because that's how you play doubles. You always hit the ball cross court in doubles. So if you come in a staggered position, then the next ball that comes back, your partner may be able to help you. If you hit the ball down the line, if you hit your approach shot down the line, guess what just happened? You got yourself reverse staggered. So here, there's an opening. When you're reverse staggered, there's a big gap in the middle. I don't know if you guys can see that, but this person can hit this ball through the middle. And watch, if I do that, I just close that. You see how now there's the opening. There's an opening there through the middle, and here I've closed the opening. So yes, when you come in, you want to make sure that you're slightly reverse staggered. Claire wants to know how you can get better at anticipating. I wait to see where the opponent is hitting the ball. So Claire, what's your rating, Claire? Claire, I need your rating. And I need your rating because at about the 4.0 plus level, I would say 4 or 5. Okay, good. Yeah. So at around 4.0 plus, you start looking to the other side and you start looking at your opponent. So if you're 4.5, you should definitely be looking at the opponent. And how you anticipate, you should try to look at the racket. I wish I had a racket. Try to look at the racket and try to see the ball come off the racket. That's the first part of anticipating. First, you look at their body position. All right. So if your opponent's on their front foot, they're probably not going to lob. They're probably going to drive the ball. If they're inside the court, they're probably not going to lob. If you see somebody leaning back on their back foot, or if they're running, if they're on a full-out run, then there's a good chance that they're going to lob. So again, the first thing is whether their body is leaning into the shot, leaning away from the shot, or they're out of balance, or we call it in distress. You can watch your opponent and see if they're in distress, meaning they're not comfortable hitting the shot, or they're running, or they're reaching. If they're kind of the ball's far away, good chance they're hitting a lob. And then the other thing is try to watch, if you can, the path of the racket, as it's coming through. And last but not least, you try to catch it as soon as the ball leaves the strings. And that becomes a lot harder when players start hitting the ball harder. And at 4-5, they're definitely hitting the ball hard. One thing is, then I want to point this out. I want to make sure that all your eyes are corrected, and meaning your vision is 20/20 or better. If you don't have 20/20 vision, it's very hard to play tennis. And I just learned this the hard way. And I made that mistake yesterday again, which is I have an eye corrected for reading. Because I'm 55 and I can't read anymore. So I have contact lens for distance on this one. I have a contact lens for reading and distance, right? So what happens when you do that is that you throw off your depth perception. And the first time that I went on the court to play with this, these contacts, I thought I was a 2.5. I mean, I just could not. I was playing, this was in Connecticut, and I was playing at a 5.0 court that I used to teach, and it was on a Monday morning, and I tried my new set of contacts, and these balls were going by me, and I was framing everything, and I was like, what just happened? And then I talked to my doctor about it, and sure enough, like when you're correcting your one eye for for reading, you lose your depth perception. So you lose the ability to track the ball, and it's very you probably won't even notice it. You probably won't even notice a difference, or you might just think you're having a bad day. But for me, my eyes are so trained that when that happened, it was like, it has to be my contacts, because it couldn't be me. It couldn't be like from one day to the other, I lost my ability to see the ball. But yesterday this is like, we're all so busy and we do stupid things. And last Tuesday I had an eye doctor's appointment because my contacts ran out and I needed to get another non-reader. So what I do is when I play, I wear 2 left lenses. So then I don't have the reader. I don't have the one that I used to read. And of course I didn't have any. So I played the match yesterday with the reader thinking I could get away with it. But these girls are hitting the ball really hard. And many times I stuck my racket out of the ball and it's like, never saw it coming. So Lori, what I say to you, I don't know, or Claire, make sure, especially as we age, that your vision is corrected, that you have perfect 20/20 vision, not any kind of mono readers or any kind of readers when you're trying to play tennis. And hopefully that'll help. And actually, when I was playing, my vision was corrected to 20/40, so I had better than 20/20 vision. So yeah, super, super important. Okay, Lori, if you're at the net and your partner is serving, what should you be watching for in the serve returner to anticipate when to poach? If you're at the net and your partner is serving, so you're the server's partner. Okay, so you're this person. You're this person. Okay, so that's a good question. So again, depending on your level and how hard the ball is hit, sometimes poaching is not possible. Like I wasn't able to poach yesterday. I wasn't moving fast enough. I had this alien body and I was cramping and I was all these things and I couldn't get to any balls. But poaching, how you poach is a physics problem, right? How are you going to get to a ball? We have 2 moving objects, the ball. So the ball's moving, right? Ball moves. And then we have you as the other moving object. So what's the velocity of the ball and what's your velocity? Like how fast is this ball moving and how fast can you move to that ball? And then there's the interception point, right? So it's a physics problem. The faster they hit it, the faster you have to be. And if you're not fast, you got to leave early. And if you leave too early, they're going to pass you, right? They're going to see that. So sometimes if you're not fast enough or the ball's been hit too hard, you can't poach, and that's just tennis. The other thing is, where's your opponent hitting the ball? My partner yesterday kept hitting the ball way out here. And the further out that this ball goes, the less chance, the less opportunity you have to poach because you actually have to watch your alley, especially at the higher levels. So what I like to do is I like to have planned poaches or planned switches. So, very common play that I used to run when I was playing was there were go plays. So it would be, back and go. So, or forehand fade, but back and go was probably my favorite. It's my partner, and my partner would be serving. The serve went to the backhand, and I would just go. My partner would come over here and cover it. So you're not anticipating here. You're not anticipating what kind of shot he's going to hit, and you don't have to wait. You don't have to hold to not get hit passed down the line. You're just going to take off. The serve goes to the backhand, and you take off. Back and go is a very common play that we ran. Body go. There's all kinds of plays. On the playbook that I have a playbook coming out this summer. Some of you probably already bought it. If you bought, all of you already have that. So that's going to come out, but I'm starting to shoot that in the next month. But that's one of the very common plays that I used to run, back and go, and I talk about why you want to run it and against who, and show you some demos. So all right, so it's 8:50. Is there any other questions that you have or any feedback? Linda or Giata, do you have any more questions? Anybody? All right, so thank you guys for coming up showing up on Monday. I know it's difficult. You know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to send out a like a Google Calendar availability calendar, and I'm going to see if and maybe you guys can tell me this, if you prefer if I did this like at noon on a weekday, which noon on a weekday East Coast is 9 a.m. West Coast, rather 9 a.m. East Coast noon, rather than at night. I know some people have kids, and this might be family time. It might be my kids are going to sleep not yet, so it's good for me. But I can also do them during the day. So yeah, shoot me an email and let me know if you prefer, or actually you'll get the email, and I'm going to take a poll of everybody who's in this classroom and see if a daytime might work for our folks. But in any case, you're going to get I'm going to send you the links to everybody. I'll send the link for the call. And for future calls, if you can't make it, go ahead and email me your questions a couple hours before, and I'll have the questions. I'll read out the question, and then I'll answer it. And then when you get the link, you'll get the answer to your question. So thank you, everybody, for being here today, and have a great night. And I'll see you next month, and then we'll figure out the time we're going to do it next month based on what you'll want to do moving forward. But it's about 55 of you that are signed up for this classroom, so we'll see when it works for most folks. All right, have a great night, and we'll see you in a month. And if you have any questions between now and then, go ahead and email them to me. Talk to you soon.